Iron sharpens iron. El Trafico. LA Galaxy versus LAFC has never been a typical rivalry. By definition, it is the only true derby in MLS, and from the very first edition has established itself as one of the most compelling rivalries in North American sports. For neutral MLS supporters, El Tráfico is a consistent source of entertainment and drama. But for Galaxy and LAFC fans, it is so much more. As we head into another edition of El Tráfico, one team enters the fray with their heads held high after a thorough victory over a nemesis, while the other stumbles in, having suffered yet another bitter defeat in a year where they have yet to taste victory. But a desperate team is a dangerous team. It's like a wounded animal fighting for their last breath. And as we've learned, anything could happen in El Tráfico. Rivalry sharpens rivalry. Let's get into it.
You're tuned into news across the galaxy where they talk all things LA Galaxy with the Nag Boys. Let's start nagging.
Good evening to you, wherever you may be, and welcome to News Across the Galaxy's The Midweek Show, coming at you live from NAG Studios East. I'm your host, Edgar Zuniga, with my partner in crime on the ones and twos, Bryant Lobos. Let's hear some horns. There we go. Yeah. On tonight's show, we are going to talk about LAFC, briefly discuss last night's debacle versus Philadelphia Union, and preview this Sunday's El Tráfico between LA Galaxy and LAFC. And to help us do all that, coming at us live from downtown Twitter, please give a warm welcome to our featured guest, IvanTheCreator. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me. I'm on enemy territory here, so I kind of have to look behind my back, make sure nobody attacks me right now. So we're good.
You're good, man. You're good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, dude. How was your day?
Good, man. We're chilling. A lot of soccer, a lot of good environments to be around because of the weather's getting better. And I think what we all want to see is just good games and the rivalry week. Not just with this game, there's other games going on this weekend. So I'm always excited. Liga MX is popping. So a lot of good soccer, man. I live for soccer.
Yeah, you're a Cruz Azul fan, and right now they're playing against
Yeah,
my boys, Club America. That's crazy, huh?
yeah. I mean, Cruz Azul is the love of my like childhood. So there's a lot of history with that team too. So I hope they beat America. They're playing right now.
Los
Boring game.
Conejitos, man. Those guys, man. They struggled to finally get that championship. I was it like what 16, 17 years, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was over 20 something finals that they made. I don't know how many
Well,
years.
yeah, no, it was a while, man. So, but obviously today we're gonna talk about El Tráfico. And I just want to know how long have you been covering LAFC?
I mean, since I'm a fan. That's what I always say. I'm a fan of this team. I'm a fan of. Um, I was initially involved with LAFC because of Carlos Vela coming to MLS. I lived in Mexico when I was growing up, so that was a huge aspect of me wanting to be an LAFC fan. And I just opened up a Twitter account. And it kind of popped off for a little bit. People block me. People, so I guess you can say like I'm an online troll that shows up, but that's sort of like my history behind this. And I think it's not the best type of covering the league, but it's the most entertaining for me. So I'm not going to give you like tactical analysis or breakdown of the game models or what center defensive midfielder should start over the other. But I'm just going to say like how I feel, and I think that's what people like to hear.
Well, man, it's fine because one of our mottos here at News Across the Galaxy is all feelings, no facts.
Yeah, that's me too for sure.
So, man, obviously the hot button topic heading into this match is like what happened, what's been happening in LA Galaxy. Last night, they took a 2-0 lead. They seemed to be cruising. They headed into the half, and then everything just fell apart. And then just to kick them when they're down, um, Philly scores that game-winning goal at the death. pretty much. I remember I was in a Galaxy chat, and when Philly had tied the game, I actually posted, dear God, please do not let Philly win this game, at the death. And lo and behold, they did. So now LA Galaxy has lost every which way possible. They lost a game where they didn't allow any shots on goal. They got destroyed in historic fashion by Red Bull. They lost at the death. I mean, damn, how many more ways can you skin a cat, right? Um, Surely Vanny is gone now, Ivan. What do you think?
Well, it's MLS, and I've been following this league for a few years, not as long as y'all have, but that's one of the things that I do not like about it, where there is no accountability if something's not going good. And I'm assuming this is the case too, because they want to be follow the NFL model where it's like one coach, or there's only like 20 coaches or whatever that they just rotate here, day in and day out. Um, and I think that's what they want to do, but it doesn't work for soccer because ideas, mentality, like motivation is different than the other sports. I think most people would want that coach out, and I don't know if that's the solution, excuse me, that they want right away. But I think if you want to ease fans, like that's the first thing. That's the head of the beast. Like obviously, you may not get a good coach after, you may not get someone right away, but just to ease the fans is like, hey, like this is a disaster among like probably historical proportions, right? If I'm assuming, but especially after last year, and especially being the champions, and they're doing a championship tour run, and it's essentially like everybody's just eating their lunch.
Yeah, no, it's pretty shocking. I know that at the beginning when things weren't going so well, um, the sentiment was, oh, they're going to turn it around. They just came off a championship. They have good players. They brought in some new people. They're going to turn it around. I know. I spoke to guys from other podcasts from around the league, and the sentiment was the same. Oh, they'll turn it around. They'll turn it around. But no, just when everybody thinks that things couldn't get any worse, these guys keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper. I was joking that at some point they're going to reach the molten core of the earth and they're going to die a fiery death. But at this point, I don't think they're going to. I mean, I don't know. This is uncharted territory, definitely for LA Galaxy, and maybe even for MLS teams in general. Like you said, to start the season like this, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this. Um, but let's shift things over to LAFC. Obviously, one of the biggest topics over there is the impending departure of Steve Cherundolo. Um, what's going on over there, and what led to this, Ivan?
There's like a lore, but there's also the what's being put out is that Dolo had a contract that was up by the end of this year. We believe there's really no like knowing until they officially announce it. And the club, sorry, the Club World Cup, there was an article put out back in November by ESPN Deportes that Leon was going to get their spot taken away because of the multipropiedad, which is like here, I guess you can call like two the same owner owning multiple teams in the same league. So that was looming since November, and I'm sure the clubs, MLS, everyone knew about it. That there was a high chance that LAFC was going to take that spot because they were in the final. They lost it to Leon in 2023, but they were in the final. Ideally, the person that gets disqualified, right, or anything that gets disqualified in first, it goes to second. But not. It wasn't the case with the Club World Cup. When the season started, they reinforced the squad probably like 90%. There was a couple things, as you know, you want to leave a couple roster flexibilities. Then they brought Cengiz Under, the Turkish player, the winger from Fenerbahce. He used to play at La Roma in Italy, and things were looking good. I think what was the final straw is that Dolo can't win finals. He doesn't know how to win big games, and everyone knows that. The opposing teams know how to play him. You essentially just or double team Boanga, and the team is neutralized. So that's what they've been doing. And then the Miami game came about, and the team got cold feet in Fort Lauderdale. I think that's where they play, and they got cold feet and they lost in like a terrible fashion. We were up 1-0 in the first half, which two up on aggregate. all they needed to do is not concede 3 goals in the second half, and that's what happened. So it was unfortunate, and that's what pretty much led to them announcing the news. Now, I've never seen anything like this where like your guy is getting fired and then or essentially let go, but he's still there, right? It's like your coworker that he's leaving. Is like, why are you still here, right? If you're gonna leave, just you know. But that's MLS for you. Like again, we can go day in and day out about that. The lore behind it was there was a lot of pressure from fans that were putting onto Dolo. One specific one was that people would comment Dolo out everywhere, and then Dolo's wife got involved and started to like, yeah, say like not so nice things, start to give the finger to fans, and that's I'm assuming what led them to feel the pressure from LA, and then they're going to move to Germany. That's what they said. That's what the report was. Excuse me. So Dole's going to go to Germany. My guess is he's going to coach a team out there because he had most of his career there. His kids and his wife are from there, so it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna mention that he spent most of his life in Germany, so I'm sure that his wife, probably his family, they're not used to the kind of scrutiny they've been receiving here. Where like you go back to Germany and they have a more comfortable life that they're used to instead of being here in LA under a big magnifying glass, right? Big microscope. Um, so all that said, it is you're right, it is kind of weird, right? It's kinda like you keep somebody on, you're like, we're gonna let you go, but we're gonna keep you on to train the next person that's gonna take over your spot. It's just so weird. But who is on your new manager shortlist? Is there a particular number of people that you're thinking they would make a great fit with the club?
I mean, knowing MLS is probably going to be the assistant coaches, Mark Dos Santos and Razov. They're both. I think Razov played in MLS. I think Dos Santos did it, but that would be my next guess. I've heard MLS, and you know how that is. Sometimes they leak stuff, but they know. Um, I can't remember his name. I think it was Tuchel from Liverpool. I think that they were mentioning like he'll be the next spot. I honestly don't care who the next coach is. I'm not big on coaches. I don't think coaching matters in soccer as much anymore. I think it's all analytics at this point. So, and the reason why I say that is because MLS won't bring a coach that doesn't make more than 500,000. I don't know if you saw that report that they said like the highest paid coach was Tata last year, which was only 1 million. And if you compare that to like Liga MX or the Brazilian league, which is the closest to us in this region, like coaches on average make like 5 mil. So unless you're going to pay a coach like 5 mil, there's really no point in talking about who's going to come next. It's going to be another of the recycled people, unless they do something drastic and like out of the box, like like they're going to bring in whatever, a Mourinho, let's say, because he's kind of at the end of his career. But unless they're doing something like that, I don't think we're going to hear a renowned name that people know. It's going to be somebody part of the mix, part of the MLS. What do you want to call it? Like brotherhood.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that because MLS is a league here in the U.S. and in Canada, they probably just want to see if they could give the shot to like a domestic manager instead of like splurging big for somebody who come from overseas who will. I mean, let's be honest, they're going to feel some culture shock as far as MLS is concerned and the way that the league is run. Imagine sitting in an office with like Mourinho and having given a PowerPoint presentation on GAM, TAM, and RAM and all that other stuff,
That's
right?
that's that's the thing because you're gonna get at some point any team you only can start like 6 players are immovable, right? Because they're gonna be the ones that are making the most and their quality is gonna be higher than everyone else. And if you're gonna bring a big coach like well, I have to coach this like kid from the second team that is not part of MLS, but it is, and like that's just not going to fly. Like they're going to want 3 players per position that are going to be fighting for the spot. Unless somebody's willing to like work with the ground up, it's not going to happen. So they're going to get the same people as like, hey, there's 2 DPs. You got yeah, like you were saying, like all these lingo, and then they're going to be like, what the hell is this? And it worked for Tata because he was able to like start from the bottom and like work up. And I think he's probably one of the biggest coaches we've had here since I don't know who else has come, but like other than him, like I don't see anyone that's like they're all like MLS, like you said, like the part of the domestic coaching pipeline.
I remember early on, Carlos Gatos came to coach the Metro Stars. So he was a big get, I think, at the time. And obviously, he went on to coach in the World Cup. But yeah, it's you can't find that
Marsh,
many.
yeah,
Was
Marsh
that?
from Canada. Marsh from Canada.
Yeah,
Was it
yeah.
Jesse?
Jesse Marsh is another one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's not like in Europe or like you said, Liga MX, where you could look at some managers and be like, yeah, this guy is a big impact manager. Um, Real quick, we have a super chat from Adam Bryant. Let's get some noise. Yeah. So, Ivan, Adam, I think this one's directed to you. He asks, are there any injuries on their side for this game? We're going to put a pin on that one for now because we will address availability later on. So thank you for the super chat, Adam. I really appreciate it. Um, so, Ivan, uh, now that there's that weird situation with like Dolo and like he's pretty much like a lame duck coach right now. Um,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, and I think I'm going to add to that. Like, if you're coaching me, or if my boss is leaving, I'm not listening to you, bro. Like, you're gonna quit anyway. So
Uh-huh.
I'm doing like, hey, go take the trash out. I was like, you take it out. Like, you're not working here anymore. So you know what I mean? I'm not saying
That's
that's gonna
funny. That's
happen. It's soccer, right? It's they're all professional, like obviously athletes, but I mean, there's got to be something along those lines where you're telling him like, hey, I want you to drop back and defend a little bit. It's like I'm not gonna do it, right? What are you gonna do? Like
no,
he's
you
not going
do
to
it.
be here. Yeah, you do it. Like, yeah. Yeah, so it's a little bit of that. Sorry, I just wanted to add
No,
that.
no, that's funny, dude. So yeah, I was gonna ask you, what is this whole weird situation right with Dolo? But this is, I mean, this at the beginning of the season, right? Nobody knew about that, but what were the expectations among LAFC supporters for this season, and do you think that they have been met?
Oh no, we wanted him out. I think, well, not we, but like half of the fan base wanted him out. Let's just put it colloquially, that after he won the U.S. Open Cup, the way he won it, we were like, yeah, he shouldn't stay. Then we lose to Seattle at home. That was like, okay, we're done with this coach. Like we know what he can. He hit his peak. He hit his limit. I'm sure you're going through it with Vanny right now. Like we know what your peak is in terms of the game and stuff, and maybe we don't want that. I think us fans like obviously you want to win, but we want to see a team that fights, and this team doesn't fight. And I think that was part of Dolo's like game plans when he would set teams up. He set teams up to defend, and it worked because when Bob Bradley left, he left a very offensive structure. So when Dolo came in, he had to do a couple tweaks, and he was able to like excuse me, reinforced the defense a little bit. And then that's what led to the cup in 2022, the amazing run in 2023 after they pretty much ransacked all our players, which is kind of what you're going through right now. And when this season started, we're like, unless we see an LAFC that wants to win big games, um, then Dolo shouldn't be the coach. And the expectation was minimum make it to the CCC final because we had an easy-ish road, and then win win a spot into obviously or sorry win at least one cup this year, which Leagues Cup, and it should have been Open Cup, but that's we all know how they get chosen, or MLS Cup. And I think the club didn't see any future with him. Like this is not going to be a healthy partnership. So the expectation was win a cup, at least make it to CCC final, because we can forgive him. But for some of us, making it to the final wasn't enough. But I'm leaving it kind of in the middle for everyone else to kind of perceive it. But we wanted the Champions Cup trophy. We had the players, we had the personnel, and it didn't happen. On top of that, we lose to PES FC, so that was like another level of yeah, we need him out.
Yeah, and like you said, that match was nuts, right? Because at one point, LAFC seemed to have things in charge, and then it just quickly just got out of control. And at that point, there was no turning back. Um, so let's talk about tournaments, right? Because another issue, I mean, another topic that came up with LAFC is the whole Club World Cup. I know you and I were talking about that before we came on, but how do you feel about the whole Club World Cup issue with LAFC getting the call to take on Club America? in lieu of Club Leon.
Oh, I mean, I think it's BS. I don't think either LAFC or America deserve it. Like you need to win the tournament to be there. But we all know this is sports entertainment, so especially with FIFA, they're always looking at the green, right? So um, obviously we'll take it. Who wouldn't, right? You get the spot into the Club World Cup. The group that we're going to be placed in, it's favorable-ish. You got Chelsea, Flamengo, and then a team from Egypt, I believe. So there's a high chance maybe you can squeeze your way in there, right, to the next round. But Leon, being the team that they, historic team that they are, and they have great, a great fan base and everything, they were reportedly out because of the multi ownership thing. And I think for us, we will take the Club World Cup, but we're not confident that Dolo can get it. So I think some of us are like, whatever. If they win it, cool. If not, Dolo is out anyways. So like, what does it matter? What we're hoping for is that if he loses that they'll kick him out right away. So like after the game, it's like, yeah, we're done. I know we said end of the year, but let's just let's just call it what it is. Like, here, pack your bags and we'll leave your locker room empty, type of thing. But unless that happens, and we won't be happy like either way. If they go through, cool. But we know that Dolo's not going to win big games for us. And if they don't make it, cool too, because Dolo's out. So it's kind of a weird spot that they put us in by announcing this about Dolo news out early. Excuse me.
Sorry about that. I got muted. Um, yeah, I see the super chat from Adam there. I'm going to address it in a little bit, but before we do, just to put a plug on the whole Club World Cup thing, we mentioned Club Leon, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. But do you feel that this was fair to Club Leon?
No, I don't think so. It's because I'm a fan of Liga MX. I think Leon's argument, or one of their arguments, is that in the trial that MLS is technically a single entity league, which we all know it's not technically a single entity league, but it can be. Um, Depends how you look at it, right? And that's what they were kind of arguing. I think that FIFA should have put this rule out way before. It's like, hey, Pachuca alone, you can't compete in the Champions Cup, right? Because that's where it should have started. Because you have the same owner, why let them get through all of this, win a final, pay tickets to that final, which I'm sure. I mean, we all paid a lot for that final in 2023, the Champions Cup, and then say, okay, cool, we're gonna send somebody else like that. That's just not fair. But we all know FIFA can do weird things like that. It's all about the money. So I think Leon will definitely regret not selling the team because just by entering the tournament, the reported gift or fee or whatever you get, it's the prize money is $9.7 million. So just by winning that America game versus LAFC, whoever wins that will get almost $10 million. So that's like the club.
That's a nice scratch.
I did the math. Not even if you win MLS Cup, Open Cup, Leagues Cup. I don't know what the fourth one is that we have, but even if you win all those trophies, you won't even get half of what that prize money is.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because whenever a team wins like MLS Cup, right, you get the cup, right, and you get all the sponsorship and all that stuff. But I don't think I ever realized no or paid attention to like what's the purse, right? And I think when I think somebody actually published an article where they talked about how much LAFC made when they won the cup, and it wasn't as much as you would
No,
think, right? It was um, because I've seen that in other tournaments around the world. A team wins a championship, they get like millions, right? And they spread it around, but not in MLS. You'd be surprised. I wish I had the figure with me right now, but maybe you can look it up, Ivan.
yeah,
While
no,
I
I think it was like I think I tweeted it was like around 2 million or something like that.
mhm.
U.S. Open Cup I think is 300,000, probably less, but
It's something, man.
yeah, but you're talking about that's like one charter plane. You know what I mean? Like or two. So for a small team, like yeah, for a small team like that's in the USL, it's awesome. But for an MLS team, it's like that's barely gonna get me whatever the V bucks, right? The Gam bucks that we have, right? So, um, but yeah, I think the FIFA Club World Cup prize money, um, it's something like $1 billion. Like I don't
God
know,
damn.
I don't know where this money's. You know how it is, right? Who knows what's getting who or who's getting who? But
Yeah.
that's the reported fee. So like 10 million to get into the tournament, then you can get up to something like 40 million if you get through the final, like over 40 million. So it's crazy.
And I'm curious, like if let's say an MLS teams wins, the Club World Cup and they get awarded all that money, does it go to the team or does the league come in and be like, hey, we're taking our cut over here because we're all single entity, spread the
It's
joy.
exactly that. Which we're all paying Messi's salary, right? Like every team is.
Yeah,
Which
pretty much.
that's where that's where we see like this league as like I'm okay with it. It's sport, but it's also towing the line of sports entertainment, And we all know like there's a part of that because we all know why LSC and America are going through this, especially America is because they sell tickets, right? Same thing they happen with UFC or whatever. Like nobody wants to see the two top contenders because they can be boring. You want to see like the Nate Diaz versus the Masvidal type of thing, right? Like, so it is what it is. That's the world we live in, and I'm okay with it. Sports is no longer a meritocracy like it used to be, but we do. I still have hope that most 95% of the time things are about what happens on the field, but we all know it's not always the case.
It's funny. I know. Me and a bunch of actually all Galaxy fans were upset when we heard about Inter Miami getting the automatic bid right
I
to
mean
be in
that
the Club World Cup, right? But and like hindsight's 2020, and in retrospect, I'm like, maybe that wasn't such a bad thing because the team isn't exactly doing so well. Um, yeah, let's talk about this real quick because we talk about it enough, right? Every day, I mean, every match day for us is like it's like opening up like a new chamber of horrors, man. It's like every week is something different. But I mean, we've asked other people that come in as guests with their point of view, but it's one thing to ask somebody who's a Portland fan or somebody who roots for New York or Philly what they think. What does an LAFC fan think about what's going on with LA Galaxy right now?
we're loving it. I mean, it's probably the most entertaining thing. I'm not missing a game. Like I watch every Galaxy game to see them lose. Like that's maybe they're getting more viewership through the LAFC man, but I'm like it's popcorn. Like I'm getting my popcorn out. It's like this is gonna be showtime, right? Like they're gonna go get the lead somehow and then lose it in the second half. Like and then the last game, the SKC game, was probably one of the worst soccer games I've seen, and that's saying a lot. We've seen a lot of bad soccer. Probably one of the worst soccer games I've seen in like the last 10 years, like that I've been watching it. And I think what we see is like from the higher level is like this is why we are advocating for this a salary change because as a fan we went through the same thing in LAFC in 2023. We had to sell all our players. Chicho, Sifu, Chiki, like a million of players had to leave, and they were all top players in our in our squad, and we were all confused. It's like, wait, we won, and you're dismantling this team, and we never understood it until after. It's like, oh yeah, because they get bonuses and it goes against salary cap, blah blah blah. But as a fan, my season tickets are not going lower, right? My the beer is not getting cheaper because um, they got a bonus, right? So I think as a fan, that's what affects the most is that it's not like NFL or anything else that you can enter a draft and pick the top DP player that's available. That's not how it works. So that just doesn't make sense for anyone. And yeah, and as a fan, like I'm having a great time watching the Galaxy like lose against other teams, but I think to a certain point it does become like seeing other leagues and you see like man this league is so behind with things like that, right? And I'm sure players have probably exposed that. When Dolo exposed that, the whole league was after him. Like he was saying, we need to change your salary rules. And then it was like, oh, you're crying because you lose finals and this and that. Because we made the final against Columbus, and that Columbus was strong. And we fought pretty good, right? Not toe to toe, but we made a good game. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, because Dolo just loses. But nobody knew that we had all these roster restrictions. We had Vela and Boanga, and that's pretty much it at that in that year. Everyone else was just newcomers and U22s, and we had a 18-year-old. So that's not going to win you cups, not in MLS at least.
Well, before we continue, I just want to address the super chat. Adam has another question. Let's hear it. Right. So, Adam, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Here's another one that we're gonna address in a little bit because the devil himself, Drew Fisher, is going to referee this game. He asks Edgar, "Is there any connection with Fisher or anything at all since he gave a penalty in favor of LAFC last year at the Rose Bowl?" We're gonna get to that right now because yeah, Drew Fisher is gonna be refereeing this game, and my goodness, wait until you hear his statistics with LA Galaxy and LAFC. Um, yeah, let's talk about real quick before we dive into the game itself, because an important figure in LA Galaxy's MLS Cup run was Mark Delgado. Mark Delgado, him and other players in the midfield, a very strong Galaxy midfield, stepped in last season during a time when Ricky Puig went down with injury, and lo and behold, they did fantastic. Obviously, Mark Delgado has played with Greg Vanny in the past. He played with him at TFC, so he knows the system. He's a very intelligent player, high IQ, and he can quickly adapt to situations. Um, Obviously, at the end of the season, salary cap restrictions meant that he couldn't stay with LA Galaxy anymore. LA Galaxy was forced to make a decision and trying to help Mark at the same time because I think his family was looking to stay in the area. He ended up with LAFC, and you and I, we've talked about Mark Delgado in the past. I told you, what I thought about him, and now I'm gonna ask you straight up. Now that you've seen him for like at least a third of the season, what has been Mark Delgado's impact with LAFC?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of us see it as a huge addition. It's like a sneaky, not, I don't even want to call it a sleeper because everyone knew what Mark does, but it was one of those picks where like he's coming to us. Like that was like surprising. We first saw him at the Coachella Invitational, and right away, like I pronounced myself as I'm like Mark's number one fan because the way he approached like we were talking about MLS when I watch like compare Liga MX because that's the only league I watch is that and MLS players are very positional and everyone's like I know how to play my position and they're gonna go from point A to point B and like Liga MX for example they're role players so it's like hey I'm a winger but if you need me to drop back and play in the mid I'm gonna do that and then they're really aware and I think Mark has that obviously probably grew up with a soccer household probably grew up with people around him that knew how to play the game well um, the other piece too is that he's a leader, and within the team, we have a lot of young guys coming up that are really good, and you can see that they're coming to him. He's yelling, directions. He gets mad when he gets taken out at the 86th minute. That's what I want to see from players, right? I always say like soccer is a privilege. Getting to play soccer is a privilege. Getting to get paid is like top 0.000 whatever percent of people. So Mark and the team is like a huge addition. He makes the midfield better. Dolo loves him, which doesn't mean anything now because he's going to be leaving. And I do think like he will do really good things with us. And he just started essentially. So the last couple games that he's had, he's played amazing. He scored a goal, I think, last weekend. So I mean, what else do you want from a midfielder, right? He defends, he attacks, he attacks. He's a leader, and he sometimes scores. So like we love Mark.
And damn, do we miss him? Yeah, oh my God. I'm sure we miss him a lot more than you guys missed Raheem Edwards when he came over to the LA Galaxy.
Oh, I hate Raheem. He was such a clown. Like Mark is that's one of the things about Mark. He's handled himself really well because I can't imagine like how much hate he's getting from the Galaxy fans. I'm sure it's some right, and I'm sure he's like used to it. But coming to the city rival, like I think he's the first player, like major player, that's come to us that we're like, oh, like that is like a switch. But we're gonna see it a lot more, to be fair. So if we're ever seeing each other's teams or players, there's a high chance that they're gonna play for each other because you're not gonna want to go to another club in the Midwest or whatever, hot weather or something. you might want to stay in LA like McCarthy, right? So like, yeah, I'm just gonna scoot over here, right? So it is what it is. It makes the rivalry better, I think, because now this is like his first match. I think he's playing against the Galaxy without wearing the Galaxy shirt.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
yeah, so it'll be. I think that's the storyline for sure for this weekend.
No, yeah, no, we absolutely miss him. Um, that said, let's start diving more into this game. Let's get into the player availability report. Um, from the last that we heard was that Joseph Paintsil and Gabriel Peck are probably going to be available to start on Sunday. Obviously, Ricky Puig is out. I mean, that's something that's like, we already know. But as far as Peck and Paintsil, they'll probably be available. I'm sure the gravity of having to play this big rivalry match is going to play into this a decision. Now, if they have legitimate injuries and you're going to just throw them in there just because of the game, then you're putting your players out to risk getting a further, more lengthy injury. And I think that wouldn't be a good idea. But if it's just something small and, they're feeling better, whatever, just put them out there and see what happens. Ivan, what can you tell us about LAFC? And this, we're answering Adam's first question, where he asked, are there any injuries on their side for this game?
Yeah, we have Maxime Chanot. I'm sure if you watch the Red Bulls, or sorry, the New York City. My bad, New York City FC. He won the cup with them. He was a solid piece for us last year, so he's out. We also have Odin Thiago Home. He's a loan from Celtic in Scotland. He's also hurt. Other than that, I think we have pretty much a full squad. There might be a couple knocks here and there that come up over the weekend. No yellow card accumulation from players or red card in that sense. Um, a lot of people are healthy. I will say, I'm pretty much assuming that a lot of these players have the Club World Cup game in the back of their minds. So I I would like to say that they're approaching this match like I'm all in, right? But we all know how this thing works, and there's the little thing, right? And like I want to play against Blue America, like that's the big game. But it's a rivalry game; nobody's gonna want to miss it. We could talk about the individual like things that are going on with players and some like tactical stuff that may come up, but yeah, I think everyone's healthy. I think Lloris is been our starter, so all the defense is good, offense is good. The midfield might be some rotations here and there. We just got a new player from Toluca, Amaya, amazing midfielder. So he came in like a few days and he's already starting with us. So yeah, we got a good squad right now.
Who's that kid? David, right? David Martinez? Is that his
David
name?
Martinez, the Venezuelan. Oh my, yeah,
God, that kid's good, man.
he's very good. And
I've
he
been,
has
yeah.
magic. He's for sure magic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to see him in this game. He might look to make a name for himself in El Tráfico. What a way to start off your, I mean, not start off your career, but like really make your mark in your first season in MLS. So let's get into the all-time records between these two teams in the LAFC era. LA Galaxy and LAFC have played each other 19 times in the regular season. Galaxy has 8 wins. LAFC has 6, with 5 draws in between. At home versus LAFC, Galaxy has 7 wins. LAFC has 2 wins with 2 draws. Um, Before we get into the ref report, Ivan, what can you tell us? What will it take for LA Galaxy to defeat LAFC in this game?
I always said this, like even publicly, the Galaxy shows more heart in these games, and I think that's what wins any rivalry anywhere around the world. Like age, records, championship, it doesn't matter, and I think that is what is gonna like take them to the next step. I mean, obviously, I don't want that to happen. If I'm a coach and me being a fan and not knowing a lot about soccer like that, double team Boanga, um, and don't make it, and double team Boanga and give Dolo the ball. He won't. That's how you beat LAFC. They don't know what to do with the ball. You double team Boanga, and it's pretty much cuts 90% of our attack. So That's how you beat LAFC. I'm sure every team has figured that out already that has played us, and every team has conducted their game model around that. So obviously, anything can happen in a rivalry game, and especially Galaxy being at home. I think y'all have the slight edge in that sense. I'm not even taking your record like as your current form. Like this is we're all starting at zero. That's how I see it.
What about we just spoke about him? What about David Martinez? Because the few times I've seen him play, my God, he's a really exciting player. He's really quick, very good of his feet. What is how can LA Galaxy look to contain him or limit the amount of damage that he can do on the offense?
I would say like yeah, he is a big piece for us, but he's a rotational piece. Um, he's a very creative guy that come through the wing and cuts. He kind of I don't know if you maybe y'all don't know it's a Cholos player back in the day that was very similar to him, but he's he's heavily reliant on his dribbling. Great dribbler, can cut in through the midfield and take and conduce the ball forward. Um, I do see him like a solid rotational piece for this game. I think they start Cengiz Under, which is he's a Turkish player on the right wing, Bwanga on the left, and then Ebobasi in the as a striker. I think that would be the starting three. And then Martinez coming in on tired legs of the Galaxy defender will that's what's going to be critical. So the thing about Martinez and his downfall is his mentality. He's a kid, like, and unless he doesn't act like a kid, we're gonna call him a kid. But he throws fits when he loses the ball. When something doesn't go his way, he'll like pout. So like that's essentially any 18-year-old player, right? So a couple things that we can fix, or he needs to fix among himself. But he's a solid player. I think a sleeper for us is Delgado, obviously, and the other person would be Cengiz Under that a lot of the league is not paying attention to. But our best player right now in terms of output is Sergi Palencia, our left back. Sorry, our right
By the
back.
way, oh, by the way, I know that earlier you mentioned like, oh, probably Galaxy fans are hating on Delgado, and I will say I very I haven't really seen any kind of Mark Delgado slander. I know people miss him a lot. The only time I ever saw I saw anybody say anything about him was like more of like a younger fan, like a newer fan that, um, was just like, oh, screw this guy. He went to, he went down, up the road, and screw him, and everybody else is just like, nah, dude, that's, he helped us win a cup, and show some respect for him. Obviously, if he scores a goal in this game and he celebrates it by kissing the badge and doing cartwheels and
I'm
the
interested. I'm
pitchforks and the
interested in what he does.
torches.
Yeah, I'm interested in what he does. Yeah, because I mean, as a player, if you're coming out and if it becomes super hostile, like that can flip a switch in him. Like, yeah, like, but obviously he was there for a while. I'm curious to see what he does, right? And given his position, he may not score because he's like more on the defensive end of things. But I call him scoring on Sunday.
No, he scored some important goals for us too in the past, so I wouldn't put it past him. He's that kind of player, a very impact player, or he could get like an assist, especially on a set piece. So it's something to look for. Um, let's get into the ref report because, and then we can also address Adam's second question, right? The ref report. Everyone, the demon himself, Drew Fisher, is going to be refereeing this game. Who's Drew Fisher? Well, Drew Fisher is a FIFA sanctioned referee. He has refereed in the Olympics, the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, CONCACAF tournaments, including the Gold Cup, Nations League. He's refereed in the Campeones Cup, the Canadian Premier League, the Canadian Championship, the NASL, the Chinese Super League, and one FIFA friendly. Uh, and it just so happens that in 2024, he was named the MLS Referee of the Year. Since 2012, he has refereed in 207 MLS regular season matches. And this is where it gets interesting. He's done 20 with LA Galaxy for 2 wins, 5 draws, and 13 losses. LA Galaxy record at home with Drew Fisher is 0 wins, 0 draws, 5 losses. With LAFC, he's refereed 12 matches, 7 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses. And guess what? When Drew Fisher is the referee, LAFC on the road has a record of 4 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. Fisher's last LA Galaxy match was earlier this season on March 2nd. It was the 2-1 loss to Vancouver Whitecaps, where he handed out 3 yellows to Vancouver and 3 to LA Galaxy. His last LAFC match was a 2-1 win over the Smurfs, the San Jose Earthquakes, obviously, at home on April 12th, 2025. He handed out just 1 yellow to the Smurfs. This is going to be Fisher's second El Tráfico. The first one was last year on the 4th of July at the Rose Bowl, where Galaxy lost 2-1 to LAFC. Interesting to note that one of Galaxy's only 2 regular season wins with Fisher was a 3-0 win versus Chivas USA way back on April 6th, 2014. This is going to be Fisher's 10th MLS match of 2025. So far, he has handed out 26 yellows, no red cards, for an average of 2.89 yellows per game. He has awarded 3 penalty kicks. And in case you wanna know, he was the referee in the 2024 Western Conference Finals, which was a rare victory for Galaxy with him in charge. The last 2 times he has refereed Galaxy games, Galaxy has lost players to injury. Ricky Poo in the game against Seattle, and Lucas Sanabria in the match against Vancouver Whitecaps. Ladies and gentlemen, the demon himself, Drew Fisher. So, Ivan, now we can address that question. Adam asks, Edgar, is there any connection with Drew Fisher or anything at all since he gave a penalty in favor of LFC last year at the Rose Bowl? What is your take on Drew Fisher? Because, my God, this guy's been around forever. And you look at that record of LA Galaxy, and we're not looking at LAFC's record, but just LA Galaxy record. Dude, there's something going on there, right? And it's not just me, right?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to the refs that much, to be honest. Like, I think what I see is that Boanga's gonna get a penalty because we love our Penny, right? We call him Penny Boanga. So that's gonna happen probably at some point. I do think that it really comes down to how the Galaxy was playing. I mean, from what I've seen in like the last couple of years, they like to draw a lot of fouls. So especially with Ricky Puig, right? So I think that's something that goes against you depending on who's refing your game. Um, LAFC relies a lot on penalties with Boanga, so like that's a huge like asterisk for anyone that's playing us. Like, will he get a penalty? With that being said, like he's a lot of them are earned. I think if not most, because if you touch him in the box, he's going to fall. So as a defender, you're going to know that. As a ref, you probably have some idea behind that. Um, and I think most of the time MLS has horrible referees across the board. It just does not with one game or 2 games. Like across the board, I see them when I go to games. It's like they want to be the center of attention. This goes back to that saying that I was saying like we're teetering into the sports entertainment. We're like a mix between NASCAR and Formula One. MLS is right. So I think that's where this league is missing a lot. Where like if I think having bad refs is good for entertainment. And I know that's like a hot take, but having bad refs is good for entertainment because you never know what's going to happen.
However,
Yeah, and it sucks depending on what side you're on, right? So
no, I've talked to other podcasters from around the league, and each of them, it's funny, has like one ref where you mention his name, and they just start cursing and throwing things. Right? You're like, damn. I know a few years ago we had our buddy Finn who covers Houston Dynamo, and we mentioned Tori Pencil, and he just went off on a tirade like, like screw her. Ah. We're like, damn, chill, dude.
but that's when you start knowing. Like you, I found out that I think they're married, right? The Pencils are married, and
Yeah, they're married.
there's another couple that's married, and they work with the federation. So it's like that's weird, right? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like professional to me, and that's where I kind of like just like say fuck it, right? Because I know that that's something that they already have planned out. Like I'm not saying that they lean games to one or the other, but I think they prioritize entertainment and them being involved in games. They think, and I think what they think is like this is entertaining to us for the league.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. I think to me, it's just letting things run as much as possible, obviously without hurting. That's the best games that I like to watch. Like everything goes right as long as you're not doing anything crazy or an egregious foul. Like let it go. That's what I think we all want to see. Maybe not, but I'm not too much of like, oh, they touched me in the box or not. It's like get up, right, keep moving. But we're lucky that a lot of the calls go our way, and I will admit that.
You know, I, in the 30 years I've been watching MLS, I can probably think of only two referees where I'm like, yeah, this guy was good. One of them was S.C. Baharmas. He was like way back in the early days of MLS. He was really good. He ended up refereeing like multiple World Cups. And the other one, I cannot remember his name. He just he left MLS, I think last year, and he was good. He was really good, and he's no longer there. Obviously, he's like, screw this. I'm going somewhere better. But yeah, no, I agree that the refereeing is just so inconsistent, man. You never know what you're gonna get. Obviously, in this case, Galaxy fans are like, damn, we got Drew Fisher. Ah, so everybody is gonna
But
everybody.
I think Galaxy fans have more to worry about than the ref. I think it's fair to say like the ref
Yeah,
will, but there's a lot more going on. Like from what I've seen, there's no defense. Like I don't know
no,
individual players,
the
and then
midfield's a mess.
I've seen
They can't
Pack
score
the last.
goals.
I in my like if I was Pack as a player, like I'm like my value just went down from when I first started in this league. Like I don't know what he was um, valued at, but by the end of last season, I'm sure it was high, and now he's probably like thinking, "Ooh, maybe I should have took that transfer or whatever."
No, you're absolutely correct because I know that at the end of last season, at the beginning of this season, the conversation was how long how long is Peck going to be around because he's not long for this league. This guy is really obviously talented, but you can't do anything. I mean, you can't score goals or provide assists if you're not getting the ball or if they're not serving it to you like you want. I know one of the things I always say was like for Peck and Painto to be very effective, they need to have the ball pass into space so they can run to it because they're obviously very speedy players and that's how they work. They need that space, but
Yeah.
the way things are right now, the Galaxy midfield is such a mess that they're not getting that kind of service, at least not consistently. So we're seeing Peck, frustrated Peck, having to come down to the midfield, gather the ball, and carry it. And at that point, two or three defenders like pounce on him, they trap him, and he can't do much. Same thing with Painto, although Painto seems to be like. Peck is at the point where he's really frustrated, but with Painto, you could tell he's like he's trying to fight it, and trying to make things happen. And it's just not happening for them. Um, well, it's that time, the time we all love, man. Let's get into predictions. Because like we
I love
said,
predictions.
man, because this is like I was listening to our good friend Bob Bentimiglia. He covers Red Bull New York, and he's part of a group called the Designated Pundits, in which they talk about all things MLS, but they also talk about odds and predictions and matches. And there's four of them, and I was listening to them earlier today, and they were so divided on this game because they're like, on paper, they're like, LAFC should win this match. But then they're like, but it is a rivalry match, and Galaxy is like really trying really hard to bounce back. And they're like, this is such a weird game to have to call. Well, Ivan, what's your call?
Like I'll say 3-3, but that's going to be the final score line. If I were to put a net out and like capture all of the sentiment of like this weekend's game, LAFC fans think we're going to lose because it's written in the stars, right? Like the Galaxy is having their worst start of this. I don't know if it's their history, but one of the worst teams in the league right now, except for
Worst start ever,
Montreal.
dude. This is
Yeah.
ever.
Oh, ever. Okay, cool. Like I don't know what the other. I think it's Montreal, right? The worst other team. So like,
Well, no
um,
one, they got to win this weekend.
they got to win. So I
Yeah.
think those are the two teams that like. But I do think 3-3. For me, Delgado and Giroud scores, even though Giroud fucking sucks as a player. But I don't watch
Yeah.
European soccer like that. But he's awful. Like I'm like this motherfucker got the World Cup. Like I don't know. Lloris is solid because he's on TAM or like less than TAM, so I don't care. He's good. And I think it's gonna be like similar to how y'all started, like 2-0. Someone's gonna go up 2-0. Someone's gonna lead. score 3-3. Like that's what's gonna happen. Fireworks and everything. There's gonna be two red cards. I'm guessing and one penalty. That's sort of like my model. I'm hoping. I don't want to see a 0-0.
Watch the two guys get the red cards, beat J Mac and Delgado. They crash into each other and start scrapping.
In the locker room, they'll just have like a little mini UFC fight in there, like put on the gloves.
Damn,
No, yeah, I think that's my prediction.
you're too kind, man. Oh man, if
It's a derby. It's you never know what's gonna happen. Like you said, the ref, you got the weather. You know what I mean. Somebody may have, I don't know what, anything can happen. And I think
yeah,
we've all got moments from each of these games. Like every single game has been a moment. Like like last year it was K Kamara dunking on Neil, which I don't know if Neil ever recovered from that, but
no,
um, and then you had like before that it was like the comeback, right? Like the amazing game that you all had against us. So like there's always something you can never discount either team, and it doesn't matter what form they're in. And there's gonna be some red cards. I think it's gonna be a fun game. I'm not gonna miss it.
no. It's funny because like all my podcast buddies from across the league, they're all like, "Yeah, man, Trafico is so entertaining." I'm like, "Well, it's not that entertaining when you're like when your team's in it because it's like it feels like you're being torn one way and the other."
Oh,
But
it's awful. Like my nerves, like it's an awful feeling. Like I've been to them live, I've watched them on TV. Like it's awful to like experience. As it's a fun awful. I don't know if that makes sense, right? But it's like you're always excited but mad. You want to cuss out. I've definitely put myself out there of like being very nasty with it, with like the rivalry talk and trash. But because I actually feel it, like every now and again I'll see like a guy say like, "What the hell, like you're doing here?" You know what I mean? And then I'll talk about.
I
But like you don't get that in any other MLS. I don't think, right? Like I don't, maybe
don't know.
Portland.
Portland and Seattle gets kind of spicy, man.
Yeah,
And
well, Seattle and Portland. They're just awful cities. Like I whatever, but they can have it out. But I think when it comes to like Chivas America and stuff like that, like they can't be in the same room. That's what I feel with like the Galaxy and LAFC. Like it's a rivalry. Like it's legit.
yeah, that's why like, in my intro I said that I was like, this is the only true natural rivalry. I think maybe Red Bull and New York City because I know like the very first time they ever had a game against each other, uh, the New York City fans were waiting for the Red Bull fans at the metro station, and they started scrapping
Mhm.
in the subway. And I was like, damn. But
Ooh.
that's a whole other thing because like the pigeons they when they did their when they were putting together their supporters groups they missed the part where they added that some of the core members were members of the Proud Boys, and yeah, that's something else. Anyway, um,
But that's good lore, though. I didn't know that. Like that's
yeah,
something that.
no, like they didn't know it at first, and then some people were like, "Those guys are Proud Boys." I don't know what you guys are doing with these guys, as part of your supporters group, and they're like, "Well, we just had a focus group, and we invited these guys down," and they're like, "Yeah, let's do it," and no,
Well, that's the beauty
um,
of soccer, right? Because like I forget who was saying. I heard a speech like recently. Like soccer for anyone can be different. Like it can be political, it can be art, it can be a sport, it can be a way of living, it can be how to like live your daily life, right? Like values that you get from it. And I think soccer is the only sport that has that for everyone. Everyone perceives it differently, and for me, it's a little mixture of everything, right? But that's what makes this the beautiful game. It's anyone can perceive it as they see, and it's the only sport like that in the world.
I'll tell you what. It's I mean, I'm a big sports fan. I'm wearing a Dodgers jersey, right? I'm a big LA Kings fan. I've been a 49ers fan since I was a kid. Me and Brian told you before we came on that we're Clippers fans, right? Obviously, I follow a lot of different sports, but this is the only league or the only sport actually where I can sit there and watch a game from another team that I'm not a fan of, and I'm entertained. And with MLS, because I've been there from the very beginning of MLS. I remember when it first started, and I was so excited because I'd always followed Liga MX or La Liga or other leagues in Europe, and I was like, finally we have something something really substantial for us. And so I've always seen the league, and I've always felt a sense of investment in the league. And so I'm very defensive of the league, and I just hope that it keeps growing into something bigger that we can all feel proud of in the future. Um, that said, my prediction, 'cause before I forget, oh my goodness, I wish, like you said, if you grab the net right and you try to get some of those sentiments right, right now, I don't know, the Galaxy supporters, from what I've gathered, um, half of them are like, this is it, this is our like a legitimate shot to to get this monkey off our back and beat LAFC in a game that where yes we can lose the rest of them, but at least we beat these guys, right? And you could say, damn it, at least we're not completely horrible. But and then you have the other half, and this is where I fall in myself, where you're like, well, let me line up, here against this wall. And I see the firing squad in front of me, and the guy comes and offers me a blindfold, and I'm like, no, no, no blindfold. Are you sure? No, 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 no. Just gonna stand here and face the firing squad. It's okay. It's okay. I've made my peace. So that's the way I see it. And if like for some reason or other, I end up surviving, I'm like, damn, okay. On to the next one. But I mean, all jokes aside, I really, I don't know. This is such a weird matchup. In my heart, I want to say that LA Galaxy would get like a good result. Like that's why I said you're too kind with the 3-3, right? But man, when I look at this roster, I look at it's such a mess. Uh, the thing that's the most frustrating about this Galaxy team is that, and many of the games, I'm not talking about the Red Bull game or the game against Kansas City, which was horrible, like you said. But in many of the other games that they played, they've actually played well. In some of the games, they've actually played better than the other team, and they lose. And it's frustrating to watch that because they have lost. They have lost games in so many different fashions. It's not like, oh, they absolutely suck and they're gonna lose, and you sit
It's
there and
like
watch it.
they're playing Kama Sutra with losses. Like every position.
Damn. And yeah, they always get it in the end, right? No, that's a funny that's a funny way to describe it. So yeah, it's really hard. I think that I don't see Greg Fanny unless they have some kind of like deal, or like or deal like where it was signed in blood or whatever, and they can't just get rid of him. I don't see Vanny making it towards the end, making it with Galaxy by the end of May. Obviously, after LAFC, there's a game against San Diego and then San Jose, I think, in that order. So, man, God, this is running the gauntlet at this point. I can see Galaxy losing this game like 3-1, to be honest, because I don't know who's going to score goals. They scored. I mean, they scored some goals in this match against Philly, but Philly was in the middle of a rotation from what going into the match, so they had other things on their mind. Um, but in this match, I think LAFC is going to try to go out there and just stomp any hopes that Galaxy might have. And Galaxy, let me tell you, Ivan, and especially last season, they've always been a team that can bounce back in the second half. It's the opposite this year. Like they go down, there's no almost no hope at all in the second half. So if Galaxy gives up an early goal, they're pretty much done for. So that's it.
You
I
know what the stat
predict.
is with LAFC though? If we concede a goal, we've lost almost every single game if we concede first.
Well, damn, bro. There you go. Whoever blinks first then loses this game.
It's going to be a high. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be a high scoring game, and I don't like statistics because I don't think in soccer that matters.
Yeah.
Because everything is about finesse and like touches, and like a ball can hit you and like deflect, and it completely changes the whole play. So I think that's something that I know for sure we're going to see a lot of goals. I don't know from which side, but do you think like some fans are like, I hope Vanny loses so that he can get fired right away after the game? I mean, it won't
You
happen,
know,
but
yeah, I was about to mention that. One of the things that I've been hearing from Galaxy fans is like if you're gonna get rid of him now, 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 before the LAFC match, because
interesting. Yeah,
if LAFC wins, right, and then like come Monday, Galaxy puts out the announcement, hey, we wish you well, in your future endeavors, and he's gone, then I'm sure LAFC fans are going to be like, haha, we got rid of Greg Vanny. Just like that last match with Zlatan, he lost to LAFC and he left MLS shortly after that. Um, damn, that would be really interesting. So I don't know what the Galaxy's plans are as far as Greg Vanny is concerned. I know that Will Kuntz, general manager, is also under scrutiny at this point. Um, but the thing is that you can't entirely blame Vanny. We've also mentioned this so many times already. There's so many things wrong with this club that aren't Vanny's fault. It's injuries and players not playing up to the performance, and um, so it's just a lot. But yeah, with the predictions out the way, let's start to wind this down a little. But before we do, Ivan, this is your opportunity to get on the pulpit, sir. In your opinion, what is the most important aspect of the rivalry between Galaxy and LAFC?
I think if it comes down to like having a team to hate, as I'm the biggest hater, and I think everyone has something that they hate and they love, and I think this is the most important aspect of this. I think for when you look at a league or any team that you follow, you have something that you absolutely despise, right? And I think that is what's important to me and for this rivalry. But in terms of the actual game model or what happens inside the games, I think it really is about the passion that they have for each other, the tifos, the the storylines. Like that's something you can't script, like we were saying earlier. But for me, it's mostly about hating something, and that's completely real.
Damn. um, well, we got another super chat from Adam. Let's hear it, Bryant. There you go. Adam, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. We really appreciate it. Yes, Edgar, is there a player, or I mean, you can answer this too. Hey, is there a player from both teams that you guys predict will stand out or have a good game? Maybe surreal for LA Galaxy? I'll let you have first go, Ivan.
Oof. If it was from LAFC, it's probably going to be Igor Jesus, the Brazilian midfielder. He's probably going to have. He always has a good game, and he's going to do the Joga Bonito on Sunday. That's my prediction. That way, I'm not using the usual suspects, right? That's a player that people don't really talk about enough, but he's probably. I know I said this a lot, but he's the cornerstone of this team right now with his 20. I think he's 20 something years old, young DP or U22. Sorry, amazing positional player, and also comes from Europe and has from Flamengo that experience in the Brazilian league. So that's my guy for this Sunday. Guy to watch.
Obviously, Adam mentioned Cerrillo. He's a player that we have seen go through a rough time this season, but we've seen him kind of grow into and evolve. Before us, just like kind of like we saw Ricky Puig, uh, mature as a player last season. But I think we're looking for entertainment, right? So I'm gonna have to say it's got to be one of the either Paintsville or Pack. They're gonna have to do something spectacular to make a difference in this match. I know I predicted a loss, but hey, man, I would love to be wrong and have one of those guys, either one of them or maybe both of them, do something fascinating that merits their DP status. That would make this match really entertaining. It would give the Oxy fans like a sense of hope and what's been like a pretty dark season.
That's the
Um,
thing. If Galaxy wins, it completely changes the whole thing. I think, like it's like a reset button, right? When you're playing a video game, all right, let's reset this. start from scratch.
oh,
We play Mario and you fall, and like, all right, start from the beginning. That's I think
yeah,
the
at
main
least they
thing.
get another week off before the game against San Diego because my God, San Diego, man, when I saw them at Coachella and I was like, you know what? These guys aren't that bad. I think these guys are gonna make some noise, and yeah, they've pretty good. They're very practical. They don't try to do anything too fancy. They just play good and they play hard and they make you feel uncomfortable. And I think that's a
But
really
but
interesting
you know how it
aspect.
is. Like the first season, they like hopes up, and then they're gonna choke in the playoffs. That's what it always is, and their fans are crazy. I will say that. Um, I'm sure
Yeah, I
y'all
was
both.
gonna ask you about that, dude, because we had the guys from Two Balls and a Mic on here before the season started, right? And we asked them, "Hey, so what's going on? What's the San Diego fans, are they looking to build a rivalry with the Smurfs or with the LA Galaxy or LAFC?" And right away he's like, "LAFC." And I'm like, why not Galaxy? He was like, we're actually cool with Galaxy fans. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know why, but okay. Because, but we goes, but for some reason, he goes like the fans are all aiming at LAFC. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. You think that you go after like Galaxy, who were at the time, were coming in as champions, but no, they were like adamant, like, yeah, we're going after LAFC. What do you think about that?
Well, their sporting director, or not sporting director, one of the core owners was an LAFC co-owner in the. I forget what his name. What his name was. And I think that is fueled by him probably, where he just I don't know why he left the LAFC, but he went to San Diego, and then one of their supporter leaders that was part of LAFC went to San Diego as well. So I think that's another reason. But I think it's naturally happening because they're both new teams. So it's like, and then for new fans of MLS, they see LAFC as like the shiny toy, I guess you can say. But and I think too is that a lot of Mexicans root for San Diego, and a lot of Mexicans were following Carlos Vela. This is something that people don't appreciate about Mexican fan bases, is that they're the ones that are carrying this league in a lot of cities, um, and obviously, like in LA is like Central American as well. But the league does very little for that particular fan base, and San Diego's catering to a lot of the Latino, Mexicans, Brazilians. There's a lot of Brazilians in San Diego, so they're catering a lot to them, and I think that's helping like fuel the rivalry. Where it's like, and I think LAC has had a couple like guys that are recognizable, like Bell and Giroud. So like, I know the Galaxy has had a ton of them too, but recently those have been the guys that people have. They think about big teams when they have like those kind of players.
Yeah, I know Vela has been the target of a lot of criticism from Mexican fans because of his issues with the national team, and then they have Chucky Lozano, right? Who for every time I've seen interaction with him and the fans, everybody loves him. He was really cool to all the fans at Coachella.
Yep.
He was there signing autographs until security came and told him that like he had to leave. Recently, I my wife, she was in a work meeting and she told me that one of her coworkers' kids went to a game and they got to meet him and how he was so kind to them and he signed all autographs and took photos with them. And I was like, wow, what a great ambassador you have for your
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
like Chucky Lozano. Um, so
He was supposed to
we're,
come to
we're
LAFC. That's another piece of the lore behind it, where I think it was a MLS decision where like you're going to San Diego, which I think when it comes to money, he was like, is it going to be less or more money? That's probably where the conversation went. But he was set to come here. He's going to be Vela's replacement. It didn't happen,
Oh
but
wow!
yeah,
And then it's funny because how MLS works with the whole discovery stuff. Because forever
that's
we have
exactly
heard
what it
Kevin
is.
De Bruyne was tied to San Diego, and all of a sudden no, he's going to Chicago. And then I heard Austin got their hands in there, and I'm like,
Austin's always trying to get their hands in everything. Nobody's trying to go that. Let's keep it real, right? Let's keep it 100. Like it's either any Southern California team now, right? You got three. Um, New York. I don't even think New York is that appetizing anymore. And then obviously Florida. Like those are the coasts.
I think once the Pigeons get their new stadium up and running, they're gonna be like, hey,
Oh,
check this out.
I can't wait. I can't wait to go to New York and visit that. I can't wait. It's the same designer that's doing BMO and the Q2 Austin.
Nah, it looks
Like
nice.
like the
I thought it was
tight,
really
yeah.
cool. I saw like a rendering, and they're actually gonna lean in the whole pigeon thing. They're actually gonna put a big ass mural of a pigeon, and I was like, "That's right, man. Embrace it, dude."
That's
Las
funny.
palomas.
I didn't know that.
um,
I don't talk to the
yeah,
sports teams a lot, but
no, it's
I
cool,
fight a lot
dude.
with people on Twitter because I think it's funny, but I take it far and people take it far, and I think they block me, whatever. But like, I really don't care. It's just funny to me. Um, and then yeah, I think that's a huge part of why I don't get a lot of interaction with a lot of teams. But especially
Well, dude,
honestly, yeah, I think Galaxy's fans they're good with banter, and I as long as it's funny, I don't care. But obviously the other stuff, the racism and all that, which I don't mind if it's funny, then cool. But like sometimes it crosses the line. That's the only thing. But for me, I don't get
yeah.
offended by a lot of that. But I know it can be like it can spark certain mindsets that are not good for the sport. But anything funny, send it. I'm here for it.
Well, hey, Ivan, hey, man, thank you so much for coming on and joining us tonight. It's, I'm like, thank goodness it's on Sunday because if it ruined my Saturday and I have to spend Sunday like wondering what the hell happened,
You should go to
at least
sleep
I can go
after
to,
it.
yeah, right? Or like sleep it off. Monday I have work to worry about. But anything else you want to add, Ivan?
No, just I've follow me on Twitter. Ivan the Creator with two R's. Um, I put just
Oh
one
yeah, I
R.
was
But you
gonna
can
ask you.
find me.
Yeah, for your
Yeah,
socials. Yeah, hit us
yeah.
up with your socials, man.
I come up on a lot of LAFC pods, but one of them's in Spanish called Dale Dale Black and Gold with Pablo. He's actually one of the narrators for the soccer team up in Ontario. So he's the one that does the Spanish broadcast there. So we do stuff like occasionally when we can. I feel like there's a lot of content out there, and I don't know what I'm adding to it to be honest. But I just try to do my part and be funny. Like that's my whole. I'm a fan that's funny, hopefully. But other than that, yeah, follow me on Twitter.
No, man. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So, for me and Bryant and the rest of the News Across the Galaxy crew, we thank you once again for joining us tonight. Thank you for coming on with us,
Free,
Ivan.
free, free,
We're
free.
hoping for entertaining match. Remember, folks, whether you support Galaxy or LAFC, avoid any unnecessary confrontations. Drink responsibly. Have some fun banter, and more than anything, enjoy the match. As we always say on News Across the Galaxy, keep on nagging. And from me to you, Wu Tang for life. Let's go.